So welcome to the MTE Partnership Webinar Series. Today is going to feature the Research Action Cluster of Program Recruitment and Retention. And it is being led by the leadership team for Program Recruitment and Retention, including Julie, Dana, Maria, Diane, Carol, and Cheryl. So thank you. You can go on. So as a friendly reminder, if everybody could please mute themselves unless you're speaking, go ahead and do that right now, and that will cut down on our background noise. And keep yourselves muted unless you're the speaker. And if you have comments or questions throughout the presentation, then please use the chat box at the bottom of the screen, of the Zoom screen. And we'll be monitoring the comments and chats and questions and help the presenters facilitate those throughout the discussion. So at this time, I will turn it over to the team.
Okay, so this is Dana talking. And so we have several goals for today. Our first goal is to provide a brief overview of the MTE partnership. Followed by more information about what we like to call PR2, which stands for Program Recruitment and Retention. And we will walk you through our aims, our drivers, our activities. And then we want to invite you to become involved if this sounds like work that you're interested in. And then we will look at connections that between the work of PR2 and other MTE partnership activities. So first, just really briefly, the MTE partnership is a partnership of 40 teams across the United States, and you can look at the map here and see where each one of the teams is located. And on the slide here, you can see that each team consists of at least one institution, APLU or SMITI institution, one K-12 district, and then one other organization. And we also make sure that we have a mixture of mathematicians, math educators, and K-12 educators in each one of the partnerships. All right, next. So the overall driver diagram that is for our MTE partnership, or as we like to call it, MTEP, and so I'll refer to it, and we'll all refer to it as MTEP through the rest of the program today. This is an overview or overarching driver diagram that helps us focus on what it is we are trying to do through this partnership. And so on the left-hand side, you can see what our gold standard is, and then the programs that we believe needed to be in place in order to make these things happen, and then each of the racks, which are on the far right-hand side. And of course, we'll be talking about the PR2 rack, which is just below midway on the right-hand side. So I want to bring everybody's attention to the fact that we will have the 8th annual MTEP conference, and the information is all right here. And you can visit this particular link right here, or I think you can also launch off of the MTEP page on APLU, but it will be June 23rd. And you know what? That is a mistake on that slide. It should be 23rd through 25th. We're not meeting for the 23rd through the 35th. So it'll be just a couple of days in St. Louis, Missouri. All right, and so we will get started with our research action cluster. So this is a consortium, 16 different universities and our partners, and we are really wanting to understand how we do effective recruitment, but not only recruitment, but also program retention of secondary math teacher education students. The AMTE standards specifically state an effective mathematics teacher preparation program attracts, nurtures, and graduates high-quality teachers of mathematics who are representative of diverse communities. And so that is what we are really all about and looking at. So, okay, so I think, Maria, you're on now. Maria?
So make sure you're unmuted.
I'm sorry, I was muted. So the PR's Grade Rack started about a year and a half ago or so. And it began after the work of the Math Rack had been completed. So the Math Rack was the Marketing to Attract Teacher Hopefuls Rack. And the focus of that rack initially was to address the guiding principle number 8 of the guiding principles for the secondary mathematics teacher preparation programs that MTEP created as an organization. And the focus of the Math Rack became mostly recruitment and marketing during the time that it was established. And we had monthly online meetings, rack meetings to share and discuss the implementation of marketing and recruitment strategies. We also discussed collecting data and results from those implementations, as well as we worked on providing feedback for modules that were being created for secondary mathematics teacher recruitment campaign implementation guide. And this guide is going to be available in Open Canvas as part of the MTEP partnership on Open Canvas. Currently, we're moving it from its prior location to the Open Canvas location. Next.
This is, hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Hi, this is Cheryl from Chico State, and I'll be briefly going over the Secondary Mathematics Teaching Recruitment Campaign Implementation Guide. This recruitment guide was conceptualized by our initial Math Rack team to assist in effective marketing campaigns and strategies in recruiting candidates for a career in secondary mathematics teaching. It consists of 9 detailed modules, which are listed below on the slide. And through my work experience, as well as my involvement in this rack, I've had the opportunity to experiment with different marketing strategies and recruitment tools. I have personally used the strategies mainly in modules 5 through 9 to assist with my recruitment efforts at CSU Chico. Module 5 outlines the different platforms on social media. Module 6 focuses on public relations. Module 7 covers paid advertising options and more, providing helpful tips on production and buying a schedule while emphasizing the importance of timing. And during my recruitment efforts, I learned just how critical it was to have an established infrastructure in place. And Module 9, Website Identity, details the basic construction and organization of a site. And finally, Module 9, Evaluation, provides a guideline to evaluate resource use and the effectiveness of a given recruitment strategy. In sum, having the right tools, including this guide and infrastructure in place, has not only helped make my recruitment tasks feel more manageable, but also provided a system for tracking my efforts. This rack has served as a valuable learning community in which to share resources, and the resulting implementation guide is a tangible outcome of this collaboration. Thank you.
Okay, so this is Julie McNamara from Cal State East Bay in Hayward, California. And as we've heard from Maria and Dana and Cheryl, our initial rack was the Math Rack that was initially focused on attracting and recruiting candidates. And then as we made the shift to focusing also on retention, we want to really identify what is the problem that we're addressing. So if you're on this webinar, you most likely know that we are facing a significant shortage of well-prepared secondary math teachers. The issue is both quantity, we need numbers, but also quality. We need folks who can actually really support all of our students in the classroom. A big change that the US has been going through is that the demographics of teachers in the classroom don't match those of the nature's children. We know that students, regardless of their background, do benefit from having teachers of color. So that's one of our focuses, is both in terms of matching demographics, but also just increasing the diversity of our teacher candidates. By 2024, students of color are expected to make up 56% of the student population, while if things continue, the teaching force will primarily remain white. Those statistics are, a bit different in California. The percentage of students of color is even higher. And again, while we want to make sure all prospective teachers are supported and well prepared, we also know that the needs of prospective teachers of color may be greater due to the issues of what is often called a residue of institutional racism that means that they might need additional support throughout their credentialing programs. So our overarching goals, right, primarily, number one is to recruit well-qualified candidates into our programs. Second to that is recruiting a diverse group of those well-qualified candidates. Also create candidates that align with the demographics of the communities served by our institutions. For example, my institution is both an Hispanic serving institution and an Asian Pacific Islander institution. The demographics of our teacher candidates do not match the demographics of both our institution and also the greater community. And then finally, helping to retain those candidates. So it's not just about getting them into our programs, but getting them to complete our programs and be successful in the classroom. So the next slide, oops, sorry about that, is our driver diagram. And as you can see on the left, our aim is, as we've stated already, to increase the number of well-prepared secondary mathematics teachers. We focus specifically on diversity targets of each program because they are very different depending on where we reside. For example, as I mentioned, my institution's in the East Bay of California. The San Francisco East Bay, we have a very particular demographic. And my colleague Diane is in Hawaii, so her diversity targets are going to be very different. Our 5 primary drivers are front and center. Number one is to attend to issues of diversity, equity, and social justice. We also know we need to build program awareness and interest. Also advising and supporting those teacher candidates before they come to us, and then while we have them in our programs. A big one, improving the perception of teaching, as I believe anybody on this webinar knows, teaching has taken quite a bashing of late, and then working with policymakers and helping make some changes beyond our own institutions, if possible. You can see the secondary drivers are there. I'm not going to go through them. There's a lot of text, but they will be available in the recording of this, of the webinar and the slides. I'm handing it over.
So one of the things that we have talked a lot about is the challenges that are implicit in doing this work. The work of recruitment is very complex, and it's often given to faculty members, but it's not their primary job. It's on top of what faculty members are already expected to do. And so this makes it very complex because we just are trying to find ways to put this into our daily work. Additionally, one of the things that we have really begun to understand is that institutions across the United States are not uniform, both in how the program is run, the types of students that are in the programs, whether you have a traditional undergraduate degree, if you have a 5th-year program, if it's some sort of an alternate route or other type of program. And so trying to figure out a set, a framework, or a standard for how to recruit is very difficult because each one of these things is unique to itself. And then, as Julie has already mentioned several times, the issue of diversity is very complex. And so I'm here in Mississippi, and so we need to be focused on what the demographics in the state of Mississippi is, as opposed to somebody in another part of the region, which would be more focused on what their demographics are. And so this whole diversity issue, again, there's not one right way to do it just because it's so complex. So all is to say that we have some challenges with our RAC that we're still trying to understand and overcome.
Okay, so now we're going to start discussing the key RAC activities and findings that we had. So one of the things that is most recent is that we have a section in the upcoming MTEP partnership monograph sponsored by AMTE and Information Age Publishing. So look out for that. I believe it's going to be in the fall 2019. And the other thing is that we've been holding monthly online conference calls as a RAC and face-to-face meetings when possible. So for example, at the conference, we'll be holding face-to-face meetings. We'll be having, there'll be time allotted for work sessions for the RACs to come together to work on things that they're developing. Next. Now we're going to discuss some samples of the current activities that are being described by, and they'll be described by institutional RAC members leading the efforts for these. So we'll start with California State University.
Thank you. This is Carol Freibolin at California State University, Fresno. Is there an echo? Okay. So probably the largest MTEP team is CSU MTEP, which is comprised of the 23 campuses of the California State University system, which prepares more of California's teachers than all other institutions combined. And about 8% of the nation's teachers graduate from the CSU. California, as we've said, as in most states, has had a significant mathematics teacher shortage for quite some time. So the California State University Chancellor's Office developed the Mathematics and Science Teacher Initiative in 2004 to double the production of math and science teachers within 5 years. And we accomplished that goal. And we're fortunate that the California legislature has provided long-term support for MISTI. And the system is committed to sustaining its preparation of approximately 1,500 new math and science teachers annually through all of its campuses. So with the support of MISTI funds, my campus, Fresno State, has been able to implement or support a number of math and science teacher recruitment and preparation programs since we first received funding in 2006. You see on this slide some of these, and the first one that you see are free online interactive and archived courses and workshops for state licensure tests. In California, that is the CSET. And also reimbursement of the CSET and credential fees. This seems to help remove one of the roadblocks for the teachers, and the free workshops that are provided, we used to provide those face-to-face, but we found that doing them online really supported not only our teachers, but all the teachers throughout the state that needed to have these tests passed. We also provide professional organization memberships because one of the things we like to do with our teacher candidates is to start them early and feeling like they're part of the professional community of mathematics teachers. We find that that has helped in retention after they go out in both in the program and when they go out and have their jobs. We also provide conference travel reimbursement. You see on the left side of the screen of the slide a photo that was taken at the recent National Council of Teachers and Mathematics meeting. Misty at Fresno State sponsored over 30 students, pre-service teachers, to attend that. And it was, as most conferences are for the pre-service teachers, a life-changing experience for the students. We also provide stipends for future K-6 teachers to take math and science courses so that they can add on an additional credential so that they might be able to teach middle school mathematics and science. And one of our most recent developments is the Integrated Mathematics Teacher Education Program. In California, you do not get a bachelor's degree, cannot get an undergraduate degree in education. And typically, most of our teacher credentialing programs are a fifth-year post-baccalaureate program. But to try to support teachers who want to, future teachers who want to finish earlier, a number of institutions throughout the state have started integrated programs so that the students can finish a bachelor's of science, bachelor of arts in mathematics, plus a teaching credential within an intensive 4-year period of time. And the state has helped with some money for this. And typically these are called ITEP programs, Integrated Teacher Education Programs. And Misty has been able to provide $1,000 for the first 2 years for these students to go into this program. And now I'd like to turn it back over to Julie, who will provide an overview of EduCore.
Thanks, Carol. So as I mentioned before, I'm also part of the CSU system. And one of the programs that is system-wide is EduCore. And the focus of EduCore is on both recruitment and preparation, really focusing on that issue of the teacher shortage. And there are a couple of different aspects of it. One of the things that we do that I've been involved with at CSU East Bay is to reach out to our undergraduate faculty and ask them to nominate students who show promise in their classrooms. And one of the things that I think is exciting about this is they may be those students who are not necessarily self-selected. They haven't put themselves on a pathway to teaching. It might be something they never even considered. But we've asked undergraduate faculty to think about, or even graduate faculty, who are those students who show that they'd be good teachers? Who are those students who are really excited about the content area, or who really enjoy working with their classmates, who really love learning? And so we've done that a few times, and then those students are invited to a celebration of teaching. This link on the left at the bottom there is a live link, and it will show you a short video of what that looks like, an example of that from Sacramento State. It's really a powerful way for students who maybe didn't consider teaching to think about that they might want to do that. Another thing that's pretty new is this recruitment and preparation tool kit that we've developed, and it is, from the CSU, but it is certainly open to anyone who would want to use it. And there are many, many, many topics there. It's both a place to go for resources. It's also a place for us to share resources. Thinking about specific recruitment strategies. If you're thinking about trying something at your university, you can go see some of the things that other folks have tried, or resources for teaching in your classes with your teacher candidates. So I'm really excited about that. And there's some search features that you can find all kinds of things. And again, that's a live link there on the right, so you can take advantage of all of those materials. And now, let's see, we'll hear from University of Hawaii.
Aloha, everybody. So here in Hawaii, we have a couple of unique issues. One being our demographics, as Julie mentioned, trying to find some more native Hawaiian and Pacific Island teachers. But it's also the location area issue, is that we're in a very remote place, 2,500 miles from anywhere, any other landmass. So when the state tries recruiting from the mainland, the teachers don't usually stay because it's difficult to move to an island if you're not familiar with it. So we've tried to work on growing our own students and really try and get the students here to see that, yeah, you want to go into teaching. We have a big need. And so with that in mind, we worked with the UH system to develop some advertising campaigns. We have this Be a Hero, Be a Teacher campaign that started out with commercials and had some impact on it. But then we took it a little bit further, and we were able to get on the local news networks. Each campus was interviewed and got to highlight their students. And then it ended with a social media campaign where the students were able to nominate their best teacher, trying to put a positive spin on being a teacher. Then to kind of help with the tuition and the recruitment and retention, we did it two-pronged. We worked with our campus to get some scholarship funding for our students. So we got some base funding for all teacher candidates. And then for the math and science, we got an extra bonus for them as they're in a critical shortage area. Then for the legislature, we worked with them to try and get a couple of bills submitted. We were able to get at Manoa some funding for their Grow Our Own campaign where they will pay full tuition for the students. We're trying to get that spread across multiple campuses. We're also working with the legislature to try and get funding for housing for teachers to help with the recruitment end, knowing that Hawaii is an expensive place to live. So being a teacher doesn't, even though the pay is pretty comparable to national, but when you include that cost of living, it's kind of makes it difficult living on the islands, especially if you're on Oahu. Big Island's not quite as bad, but it depends on which area you're on. So those are our main things, is working with the legislature and financial aid to find ways to really help finance and retain our teachers.
All right, this is Maria at Florida International University. And these are just some sample strategies that we've been doing. One of the things as part of network improvement community that Dana talked about at the beginning was this idea of plan, do, study, act cycles, PDSA cycles. And so we have been implementing some of that and have some findings with respect to recruitment. So with the recruitment, we've sent out emails using MailChimp, which means they have the student's name. And then we collected data on inquiries, surveys on the program website, and at an initial 1-credit course that students enroll in to find out what are some of the strategies that are most effective. And so we found that sending emails, when we initially tested it, and we've continued to use the sending emails, was successful in terms of the number of inquiries in comparison to other types. Like, for example, we sent out postcard flyers to the students' homes at the same time that we sent out the emails, and the postcard flyers had 5% inquiry came from that, while the emails, we got 21%. And there was some overlap even between the students that said they had received a postcard and an email, both. So the postcards and the mail postage was a lot more expensive, so we started not using that any further. the postcard piece. We've also visited new student orientations, and those have been successful. We go at the time, so we coordinate with the orientation leaders at the university in order to target STEM students in specific. And so we go and talk to them about the program at the time that they're enrolling during the orientation, and that they're talking to their advisors during the orientation. We've also visited introductory lower division STEM courses, and that has had some success for us. Now, in terms of retention, we've recently started providing noise scholarships. We're doing teacher certification prep for the exams. In Florida, they have to take 3 exams. And then we're also in regular and frequent communication with the undergraduate advisors. Next.
Oh, wait. Okay, there I am. Sorry about that. Okay, so I know we're kind of running short of time, so I'm going to just tell you really quickly that we have had 2 initiatives at Mississippi State that are really, my part of the work has been grounded in what I've learned from work on first the math and then the PR2. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody about really what we've done. But just very quickly, we have a Mississippi Teaching and Excellence program for high achieving students who get a full scholarship if they agree to be a math teacher in Mississippi for at least 5 years. It's also for English teachers, but we'll focus on mathematics. And then we are wrapping up a 1-year capacity grant, and we will be looking to do a full noise grant to help with recruitment in future years. So I will talk more if anybody wants to know that anymore. Just find me at the conference. So I guess I can go ahead and talk about this. So we have lots of opportunities for engagement. We would really love to have you come and check us out at the conference that's upcoming. We will be continuing to talk about recruitment strategies. We're hoping to find new and better ways to think about what we're doing and figure out how to disseminate that information. And we want to continue to figure out ways to implement some of the recruitment and retention strategies that we've tried at some of our institutions, at other institutions, and learn from that, and share that in formats that make it useful for anyone that's interested in recruitment and retention, and understand how we all do a better job, because as Julie said at the very beginning, this is a critical area. We've got to find more math teachers across this nation. Okay. So now I think we're ready for questions.
I didn't receive any questions in the chat box, but let's give a moment of wait time for everybody to ask their questions or provide comments and conversation.
I have a quick question. I'm thinking about recruitment and knowing that, you know, the MTE partnership teams, it's mostly mathematicians and mathematics educators, and a lot of us, even if we have some responsibilities with recruitment, we don't really have a lot of experience or connections with recruitment. So are there other people you recommend us trying to find on our campus and like kind of bringing on board to part of our team in order to be more effective with the recruiting?
Well, at FIU, we work closely, like I said, with the individuals that put together the orientation. So we reached out to the director of recruitment, and she works on the new student orientation. She works on the recruiters that go out to high schools to let students know about what's going on. So we coordinate very extensively with them. We also coordinate very extensively with advising and our advisors, because we found that students, when we were initially collecting the data, we weren't asking them about the advisors, and students were writing in I heard from my advisor. I heard from my advisor. So after that, we started making an effort to work closely with the advisor to let them know what's going on. And those communications need to happen regularly with the advisor and the new student and the recruitment person, because the recruitment strategies change at your institution, which they have at ours. And so if we continue to do the same thing from one year to the next, it might not be a good fit, which happened to us. So keep in communication with those individuals, the director of advising and the director of recruiting.
Yeah, and I'll build a little bit on what Maria said. Is we also work closely with the coordinators of the EOP programs. So all of the folks are a lot of transfer students. We have a lot of specific student organizations, and we reach out to them as well. And
what's EOP?
Oh, sorry, Educational Opportunity Programs.
Okay.
We collaborate with future teacher clubs in high schools and host an annual Make a Difference Teach Conference for high school and middle school students. And we have found that they are impressed with that and they want to come to Fresno State.
We also reach out to the teacher academies. So I don't know if you have those where you are, but in the high schools, they have teacher academies where students might be interested in teaching. So we actually reach out to them and work with them across the state.
Hi, this is Cheryl. I was actually hired on as a recruiter at Chico State under a U.S. Department of Education Teacher Quality Partnership Grant. And so fortunately, I am a recruiter for this specific program, and we put on monthly or quarterly board meetings throughout our partner districts, our surrounding communities. So the principals, the superintendents were all involved, and we discussed the teacher shortage and what we can do as well.
All right, should we go to the next slide? So as we wrap up, we wanted to remind you about the webinar series. And the next one coming up is going to be on, well, there's information on Open Canvas. I guess this one is related to the conference that's going to be coming up in St. Louis. And Gary says, if you are interested in attending but haven't registered yet, reach out to him in his email and let him know that you attended the webinar, and that you're interested in attending the conference. And maybe they can squeeze you in. Next. And then this is for more information about the conference that's intended for individuals that are part of the MTEP partnership. And then at the end of this PowerPoint, we have the references that were part of our presentation.
And thank you all very much for participating in the webinar today. And as Maria mentioned, we hope that we see you all next week at the next webinar, and then also at the end of June. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.